Hello, my name is Dan and welcome to Team Theme. Today I'll be continuing the Facts and Changes series on the recently closed Bubbleworks. However, before I begin, I have one special shout out going to Monster Man Gaming, who requested a video about Bubbleworks. To find this awesome channel, simply look in the description below and press the provided link. Before I begin, some of you might remember I did a Bubbleworks Facts and Changes video on my previous channel, Down the Danger Miner. However, that video was poorly edited and I missed a lot of information, so let's jump straight in. Now, for those who do not know, Bubbleworks was originally named Professor Burps Bubbleworks when it opened in 1990. However, in 2006, Bubbleworks was refurbished and was renamed to Bubbleworks with an Imperial leather logo slapped on the middle. This was because it was a sponsorship. However, by 2014, the sponsorship ran out and the logo was changed, with a duck replacing the Imperial leather sticker. The station of Bubbleworks was originally a lot darker and it had flashing lights, the pictures on the wall were hand painted, and so was all of the signage. But when Imperial leather took over, things wasn't as fancy. The paintings on the wall were replaced by printed images of showering ducks and cartoon images. All the paintwork was repainted with blue, red and bubbly colours to resemble a soap factory, and of course the signs were replaced with a soapier look. Main change was that it was actually a factory about bubbles, but when it originally opened, it was meant to be the bubbles that you get in a fizzy pop can, and you'll see that a lot in a minute. Now let's have a look at the exterior of the factory. This image is what the facade of Bubbleworks looked like when it opened in 1990. As you can see, the building is painted red and has the classic Professor Burp logo on it. Okay, this is now an image of what it looked like in 2006. As you can see, not much has changed apart from the windows have bubble stickers on it. However, around 2013, it was replaced with light blue. I believe this was because a recent fire had destroyed some of the paintwork. Let's have a look at the third scene of Bubbleworks. This scene is known as the office. As you can see, here sits Burp and his famous dog holding a bottle of pop. The dog and Burp followed you throughout the ride. In this scene, Burp used to say,
and remember the secret formula. Juice plus gas equals I'll be the same.
Oh yes, and behind Burp lied a bookshelf. Now let's see what it looked like when it was refurbished. Okay, as you can see, Burp has gone and has been replaced by a man bathing in a bathtub. But if you remembered that bookshelf we talked about, it is actually still there. They probably couldn't be able to remove it. Also, I believe in this scene, the man says,
Another glass of shampoo.
This was actually taken from the Hawaiian scene, but we'll come back to that later. This section of the ride has changed a lot. When it was Professor Burp's Bubbleworks, it had a Jamaican lady singing a song about fruit, and beside the lady was a mooing cow. The cow remained, but the lady was gone. Also, this scene was originally themed around Mexican culture, but when Imperial leather took over, it was just turned into another factory scene. The next scene was the Gasworks. As you can see, there is a huge robot with a big old foot sticking out of him. This has mostly stayed the same, but the only difference was that Burp used to have also been in this scene, laughing away, and the pillars had laughing faces on it, but then the pillars were repainted with laughing bubbles. The next room was probably the most scariest room of all, the pressure room. This room was meant to be some sort of experiment gone wrong with a massive bubble. In 1990, the bubble was red and had an angry face on it. In 2006, it was repainted with a more family-friendly face on it, and the room lost its gone wrong feel and just seemed like another room in the factory. The next scene was themed around a place that is very hot, and in 1990, the room had 2 bananas in a bath. And guess what they said?
Another glass of shampoo.
Means they must have reused the audio and put it at the start of the ride in 2006 with the man in the bath. When the tropical scene was revamped in 2006, the only difference was the bananas removal and a duck massager. Also, the elephant was repainted to look like a real one. Next scene was the on-ride photo point, so I might as well skip this scene. But after this scene was originally a scene of cups hiccuping up and down, but also known as the hiccups. In 2006, it was replaced with rubber ducks hatchery with eggs in the process of getting hatched, followed with a man saying,
You must be quiet. Shh. Please be quiet. They are the little eggs.
The next scene was very small but unmissable, the hygiene room. The hygiene room originally had bottles of fizzy pop attached to some sort of crane and spun around. In 2006, the bottles were replaced with rubber ducks, with an annoying duck sound, after and after again. After that was probably the most jolly scene of all, called the Fun Fair. In 1990, the scene had a classic helter-skelter with bottles sliding down them, alongside a carousel and Burp on a bike saying,
And this is where I recycle the empty bottles. Wait, it's hard work.
When Bubbleworks was refurbished, all of the bottles were replaced with rubber ducks, and Burp had of course gone. Then, the boat would ascend up a hill, eventually falling to the most famous scene of all. Yes, the fountains. The fountain scene pretty much stayed the same, apart from the removal of Burp conducting an orchestra. Then before the ride ended, you passed a firework display and saw a bubble man preparing for the event. The only change in this scene was the signs were updated and the bubble men were replaced. Then the ride would return to the station as you exited towards the shop. Unfortunately, on the 6th of September 2016, the iconic Bubbleworks shut down and was replaced with the Gruffalo River Ride Adventure. Luckily, half of the fountain stayed as the finale. That pretty much wraps up today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to ask for a shout out in the upcoming video, and I hope you have a really awesome day. Good night.